Right. Test 1, 2, 3. 2 piñana coladas. Okay. So, thank you all for coming to my session. Wow, there's a big crowd here, so awesome. So my talk is called #LOLBins, nothing to lull about. And it's all about the term LOLBins and how it came about and what it is about. So, as you probably can hear from my accent, I'm not from Texas. I'm from Norway, actually. So just briefly a little bit about myself. My name is Oddvar. I tweet a lot. I have a blog. I do a lot of different stuff. I've been working with IT since around 99. So I've been around a pretty long time now. Previously, I worked mostly as a Microsoft consultant, helping customers implementing stuff like Active Directory, group policies, Exchange, etc. And the last 6 years, I've been focusing on doing penetration testing as my main area. I'm always learning, so I really love to be challenged and to learn new stuff as much as possible. My philosophy is that no one knows everything, so I think that's a great mentality to have. As I said, the last 6 years, strictly security. Either it had been pen tests or also helping customers getting better at security. I have been a spare time security researcher, so I've used all my spare time digging into stuff, figuring out new methods of persistence, new ways of getting code execution and stuff, based on the little time I have after my kids have gone to bed and I've finished watching TV and all that stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of memes and GIFs. So I tried to tone it down in this presentation because, yeah, I know, boo. But I really do love them, so I have some. Currently, I recently changed my job. So I just announced on Twitter that I have a private announcement to make. So as of this summer, me and a couple of former coworkers were at a company where we didn't like it. We kind of felt that it was time for change. So I was really like distressed, and I was sitting in my hotel room. I was out traveling, and I thought to myself, what would be my absolute dream job if I could like choose from the entire world? What would be my absolute dream? So, sitting in my hotel room, I tweeted out this. If I were living in the US, I would have worked at one of these companies. It's kind of hard to see, but it's SpectreOps, TrustedSec, Black Hills, or NetSpy. And that's based on what I see, what I hear, and the people I know. So, to me, those are great companies. So if I were living in the US, I would have applied immediately. And all of a sudden, I got a response. I didn't know why I tweeted this. Actually, I was just distressed and like, throw out a dream there. And Dave actually reached out to me and was like, no matter where you live, you can always come work for us. It just means a little more paperwork on our side. And I literally did this. I never thought that was possible to like, I never imagined that that was a possibility at all, like working from Norway against the US. So as of this Monday, I started working for TrustedSec. So that's my new boss. So that's really awesome. So to sum up all my feelings into one slide, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Like this. So, but that's not why you're here. You're probably here to hear me talk about LOLBins. So what I will cover is I will go over the story behind the term LOLBin, and then I will go over the project we created around this. It's called the LOLBins. I will go over what we have done and what we have plans to do in the future versions. And we're also launching our web portal today. That's pretty cool. And I will also go over kind of a methodology on how to discover a LOLBin if you're interested in digging into stuff. And I will give some examples in the end. Does that sound good? Cool. So, the living of the land, we heard this a couple of times now, but the first kind of experience I had with it was when Christopher Campbell and Matt Graeber had a session at Derbycon 3 about living of the land. And to me personally, this was a turning point in my career, because this was around the time I started with pen testing, and I discovered that you don't have to be like a super geek with Linux in order to be a pen tester. It's actually beneficial to have like a Windows background as well. So I kind of, after seeing this talk, it kind of confirmed that I would do great if I just switched my mind from being an IT pro, IT admin to a pen tester. So this talk, I really love it. It's a huge inspiration to me. And this is like the first instance of living of the land as a term. And what it means is that we use, instead of introducing a lot of binaries on a system when we attack it, we use the Windows internal binaries instead. So that way we can go under the radar when we do our attacks. So it's a much better way of attacking, living of the land. And during the years, there have been a numerous amount of names for these types of binaries. And this list is probably not complete. But you have they have been called dual purpose programs. We have pass-through programs, sponsor programs, surrogate programs, Grim Sherpas. That's a good one. Proxy binaries, trampoline, piggyback. Yeah. And the one I used a long time was the misplaced trust binaries. I felt that was kind of a good term for these binaries. So it's kind of frustrating, when we all use different names for the same thing. At least that's my opinion. So a guy called Kyle Hanslovan. Are you in the room, Kyle? No? He tried to run a poll on Twitter in order to get settle on what name we should use for these binaries. And that's a good idea. So in the first round, he just asked people, what do you think are good names for such binaries? And there was a lot of suggestions. And it ended up in becoming a poll. So it ended up in 43% thought that the surrogate programs was maybe the best match for these binaries. And after a lot of discussions after that poll, he did another poll where they figured out that should it be agent, binaries, programs, or vectors? What is most suiting? And they ended up on binaries. So fine, we all decided that, okay, it should be called surrogate binaries. But nothing really happened from there on. So that's the problem. We agree on something and nothing happens. So there was another suggestion during that talk that I kind of noticed. It was a suggestion from Philip Gu. He proposed living of the land binaries, or LOLBins. And it kind of rolls easy on the tongue. And I thought it was pretty cool. So I also noticed, after this, people started using this term kind of loosely. So this is just an example out of many. So Matt tweeted out, for instance, LOLBin of choice in like this. So I kind of took the opportunity to try to settle this once and for all. So I ran another poll, and I just asked if we could all agree on if LOLBins and LOL scripts was like suiting names for these type of binaries and scripts. And we got like a 69% yes. Only 49 votes, but still, it's a lot. So I figured out a plan. Like, how do I make this name known? You have to have something to show for. You need to kickstart it. You really need to kickstart something. Not like this, but you need to like do something that people remembers, or else you're lost. So, going through my notes, I do have a lot of different notes. I had a lot of gists. I had a lot of links to different blogs, different links to tweets. I had a lot of different like resources of binaries that wasn't correlated at all. So, what I ended up doing in a couple of during the time span of a couple of fucking days. Hey, boss. Oh, I knew this was coming. Oh, can I get another one? Oh. All right, where was I at? Okay, my notes. So, I had a lot of different notes from my gists, a lot of tweets, bookmarks to blogs and stuff. So I figured out what I will do. I will try to like index them and correlate them into one place, and like call it something around LOLBins in order to like create a product out of this. So I did that. I started something called the LOLBins project, and I tweeted it out. It all started with this GitHub page where I just manually added like links to the different binaries and produced like content of every binary, what it does, and all that stuff. So I tweeted it out, and I got a staggering 352 retweets. So my phone was out of power within like half of the day. So yeah, it was incredible. So I got a lot of feedback. Boy. From there on, the term LOLBins kind of became the new name. So it was, I think it was pretty brilliant to have like set up this sort of thing. So we did it, or I did it. People started using LOLBin as a term. So here's some links to LOLBins in a Huntress Labs tweet. A very bright fellow called Adam changed all of his categories to LOLBins. He used to use trampoline. Swift on Security was really happy that we finally had a name for this. And also Carbon Black started using it. So I started seeing more and more usage of this term. So it was like a big success. Yeah, articles were written. Also, my newly boss had it in his keynote. Ah, Dave. Yeah. So that's where the LOLBins project came. And this was something I started with the GitHub page. But right now, we are like 5 members that works not full-time, but we use a lot of time just discussing things, what we should have and not have and all that stuff. And the first version, as I showed, this was the version I made by myself. And this was done manually by just using Notepad, typing all the information in. So here's an example of a binary. So you could like go into the GitHub page. It's still up, by the way. And then you can click on the different binaries, and you get to a unique page for that binary, and you can like look at the details, the different commands you can run, and what it does. And also I included acknowledgements for the people that have figured this out, and included links to resources, and also the path to where you can find the binary. So pretty interesting. And I did get a lot of pull requests. I mean, wow, it was amazing. I got a lot of feedback. A lot of people were getting involved, so that was awesome. I really, really fun. The problem for me is that it's hard to be a judge. I wanted this to be like a community-driven thing. But in the end, when I was all alone, I was like sitting there, does this qualify as a LOLBin or not? How should I really decide? Is this better or worse than the previous one? Which one is correct? So it was kind of hard to be a judge. And I'm the kind of person that hate to exclude stuff. When people use their time to try to contribute, I don't want to like put the hand up and stop them. So that was kind of hard. And also a problem I had was that I didn't have like 100% clear definition prepared for what a LOLBin was. So I got a lot of random messages about different binaries and stuff that they claimed to be like a LOLBin that really wasn't. So that was kind of a problem. I did get some logos. So a guy called Adam made some logos for me. So that's pretty awesome. And one of the key problems for me was that it was only me all alone in the project. So no one to discuss with and all that. So that's kind of hard when you're running this project. So here are the logos. So a big shout out to Adam Nodrowski for creating these logos. They're pretty awesome. I also got some stickers. So I don't have a lot, but I have some. So you can get one from me later if you want. And when the logo was made, I made a kind of a funny tweet about it. I thanked him, of course, but I also like mentioned that the person here, it has to be Matt Kraber, right? It's got to be. And of course, he responded, "Yep, that's me. Nothing but a free-range, antibiotic-free, fair-trade LOLBins raised on the manifestation farms." So he kind of confirmed that he is the guy on the logo. So it was pretty funny. So I started a Slack channel on the Bloodhound Slack dedicated to LOLBins. So I don't know the exact count, but I think we're around 100 members there now. And I did get a lot of help from especially Jimmy. He helped me out a lot, just discussing how we were supposed to structure things moving onward. And he also helped me get a lot of other people involved in the project as well. So that's really something. So what I learned was that when you have acknowledgement, that's freaking awesome. So when people can see their name on something, people gets triggered. So that's one of the thing I think was a big success in order to get like pull requests all the time, because people love to see that they're contributed to something. So that triggered people. So that's something I would recommend doing if you have a project. Acknowledge people, what they do. And also what I learned is that it kind of blew up in my face. It became very popular very fast. So, and that was cool. But it took a lot of time. So as I said initially, I don't have a lot of spare time. And doing a lot of time with this means that I don't get to use a lot of time on digging in binaries. And that's exactly what I want to do. So there was like I created a kind of a monster that took all my time. So I don't want to be like the one that gets all the pull requests of the binaries people figure out. I want to be the one that finds them. But still, it's awesome. So yeah, and a great interest. So that was a lot of fun. So just to show you, like I tweeted it out on the 18th, and it was like skyrocketing up in terms of traffic. So, wow, it was incredible. It was a really fun period. Just a random screenshot just recently in September. So it averaged around, I don't know, 600-700 people a day that visits the repo. And also there's a lot of funny referrals. Like if you like link it in your internal system, and you click on that link, I will see the referral in here. So I can see like a lot of big companies are using like this as a reference. I will not disclose it here, but it's really funny to see. So a big tip there is to like hide your referral if you have like a Confluence, a Jira, or whatever. Do that. Yeah. So and then we created a version 2. Where the goal was basically to convert the MD files I have created into something called YAML. It's a format. We discussed a lot if we should use JSON or YAML. We ended up in YAML because it's more flexible. So we did that. We did a lot of dirty work, getting everything set up for YAML, converted everything, and a lot of us had to learn a lot of new stuff during that process, and it was a lot of fun. And of course, the goal here was to make it reusable for others, so they can like take the YAML files and use them for whatever. We haven't like officially launched version 2 because we wanted the web portal up and running before we like launched it. So we moved the project to a new location where we started to work on. Instead of my private repo, we have like a dedicated LOLBins project repo now. So this is where we are working from now on. So the version we are releasing today, it's live as we speak, is that every binary has been like made from a YAML file. So we have like a master set of YAML files for every binary, and when we want the files converted to the web portal, we run a script and it's generated for the web portal. So like we have one place to manage all the stuff. And that's a huge time saver for us. We also added a lot of categories, more categories into the different binaries. That was also something we decided we should do. And also a big part of it was to have mapping against the MITRE ATT&CK framework. So every binary, every command has like a mapping towards the different techniques in the MITRE framework. So that's pretty awesome. There's still a lot of work that needs to be done here, especially in terms of the detection details. But we have included a lot of IOCs for different type of binaries. It could be everything from user agents, from where the files are stored when you run them, and all that stuff. So it can be helpful to look at it. We also changed our definition of a LOLBins candidate because we wanted to be more narrow. We were very like wide open to what we wanted to include, but we have been like changed that perspective now, and we wanted to be more driven against red teaming and APTs, basically. So as of today, later on today, I will add a message on my original GitHub page that will include a link to the newly maintained GitHub repo, stating that this will no longer be updated, but I will keep it there for historical reasons. Yes, so the new definition is that the files or the binaries has to be a Microsoft signed binary. We deliberately chose to exclude third party because it just became too much. We didn't want to like map everything out. We don't have the capacity. But that's a great project for someone to like continue on, to like map out every third-party bin that does other things. And also, it's important to like highlight that it's the extra functionality of a binary that we want to like map out. We don't care about the things that it actually was meant to be used for. Like net use is used to map drives. Yeah, that's what it was meant to do, right? We don't want to map or create like a big documentation of what every binary can do. We want to focus on the things that isn't documented, ways you can use it to do other stuff. So the only exception to that rule is when it's application whitelisting bypasses. Then we want to include it no matter what, because those are valuable to us. And as I said, the primary focus right now is to focus on stuff that can be leveraged by a red team or an APT. That's the most interesting things. Right. So a big shout out to the GTF bins. I don't know if you have visited that page, but it's basically a spin-off of this project. So they were inspired by the project I started. So they started the same for Linux commands. So they have like a repo of Linux commands, and it was actually on my to-do list. So this is something I don't have to do anymore, so that's awesome. So at the gtfobins.github.io, you can go in there, and there's a really nice web portal. And it was so nice that we actually stole it and rebranded it to a LOLBins web portal as well. So a big thanks to these guys. It's really awesome. So right now, the portal is live. You can visit those links here. The link in the bottom will take you to the link on the top. Let me show you real quick. I had some problems with internet here, so I will see if I can just show you the cast version at least. So it looks like this. Nothing really exciting, but you have like every binary listed here with the different functions it can do and what type of binary it is. If it's an ordinary operating system binary, or if it is a library, like a DLL file, or if it's a binary that you have to download from a Microsoft page. Whoops, sorry. So here you can actually search. You can type like ms build, and it will find it in the list. You could use like a slash to sort out only the different functions you want, like AVL bypasses. Or you could include like a hashtag and focus on merely, for instance, libraries. So pretty awesome. And when you click on them, since it's a cached version now, I just have to show you this one. It's certutil. So when you click on that, it will take you to this page where you have a description of the binary itself. So here you can see the different paths where you can find the binary. Let me try to zoom a little. And here you have the different resources. This could either be a link to a blog or a link to a tweet that is related to findings of this functionality. And also the acknowledgement field, the name of the person, and the handle if they're on Twitter. And here we have the IOCs, like for instance, certutil creating new files on disk, user agent of Microsoft Crypto API 10, etc., etc. And here we have the different functions. It can be used to download files, so you can use this command to download a file. You can use this command to encode a file, and so on and so forth. And we have also included like a use case for each kind of command, what you can use it for, and also the privileges you need. So this will probably change in the next version. Right now we're only focusing on the user or admin rights, but we want to like have the different privileges you need to actually perform the action. But it's going to take a lot of time to map that out. And also the different operating systems it's valid for, and mapping to the MITRE framework. So if you click on the different links to the MITRE, you just go to their homepage, basically. So that's it. It's the web portal. Did you like it, the web portal? Yeah? Cool. Thank you. You have a question, sir?
Yes, since you said nothing for third party.
Yeah.
Do you know any groups that are?
No, I do not know any groups that are. Sorry. We have some already included that we have like just put in a folder in the project. So they're there for reference later, but we have decided to not include them here. We want to like get rid of them. Yeah, they're still there, but we're not focusing on that anymore. So future work for the project is to have even better subcategorization of the different techniques. So for instance, execute can be like not only executing or spawning or executing code, but it could be the different kind of categories within execution. Either spawning a process, making a signed binary run an unsigned binary. We haven't really decided on different categories here, but we want better subcategorization for real. And also we want to have the project in a database format. For some reason, some people like to have it in a database, and I can totally understand that. And it's much easier to like drag data from it. So that's something we want to have. We also want to have a unique GUID for each binary, so it has a unique identifier for various reasons. And last but not least, we want to like split the main command into a main command and parameters. So that way you can like build tools around it to automate testing and stuff. But yeah, so that's like future work for us. If you have any suggestions, make some noise, like post it on a Slack, Twitter, create an issue on GitHub, mail me, call me, whatever. Yeah. So that's short about the project, where we started and where we ended up right now. So now I'm just going to focus on how to like discover a Lalbin. What sort of technique can you use to like figure something out? So the first question you need to ask yourself is, or say to yourself is, don't ask what a binary can do. Instead, you need to ask what you can make it do. That's the important kind of mindset you need to have. So, for instance, when I start out looking for things I can do with a binary, I normally just write the binary name and add a question mark, just to see the help. Maybe there's something interesting. So, for instance, here we have the 4 files. It has a /c and can run a command. That's pretty interesting. So, if /? Doesn't give you any results, you can always use the sysinternal strings to like extract all the strings from the binary. And that way you can find like hidden parameters. That can also be interesting. And of course, Google it. Maybe you'll find some sysadmin that solved a problem with that binary in some creative way back. And like you can leverage that for an attack. So that's interesting. Or you can just reverse it using either Pro or Ollie or whatever your poison is. So the clue is to use the existing functionality, but try to do other stuff. So like here, for instance, it can spawn a command. But here I would like to try, for instance, can I run a command directly from internet? Like instead of specifying c:temp binary.exe, could I like specify https blah 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 and run it that way instead? Because that's interesting. Also like trying to run it from a UNC path, is that possible? So all these sort of techniques you need to like think of and try to like figure out ways of running things. So if you want to like list out all the binaries and start to play with them, you can just run dir /s and the C Windows star.exe and pipe it to an all exe text. And then you can like go on and try each one of them. So I do this from time to time when I'm bored. Look at the different binaries, what can I make it do, and all that stuff. So it can be a lot of fun. So let me walk you through an example. Here's expand. So as probably most of you know, you can use this to decompress a compressed file. So it takes a cabinet file and you output it to a folder, so it decompresses the files. That's like how it works. If you type the question mark, you will see it has a lot of different options, like expand source cab, and then -f files, and the destination. So what you normally would want to do is try something else. So for instance, let's try to do this. Take expand, point it to a binary file, and then point it to another place, and call it the same. What will happen then? Well, it will actually copy that file. So that's hidden functionality right there. You can use expand to copy files. That's pretty cool. And also, taking it even a step further, what if you try to download files from the internet? Is that possible? Of course it is. So here you can download from live, sysinternals.com, or whatever your server name is, a binary file, and output it to wherever you want. So here you have a possibility to download files using expand, and that's pretty cool. So that's how you test functionality to figure out stuff. So what I typically look for is command and code execution, like running commands or just getting scripts to run or whatever. And if I can figure out a way to bypass application whitelisting, that's golden. If I can figure those ones out, oh, it's awesome. And also, if you find binaries that can compile code, even though they're meant to compile code, it can also be something that isn't documented anywhere. So you can stumble upon a binary that's actually does compiling, but it doesn't say it anywhere. That's really interesting. And also, like I just showed you, download, upload, copy possibilities. It's always interesting to have different ways of doing stuff. And alternate data streams. That's something It's one of my fetishes right now. So if you don't know what that is, it's basically you can take like a binary file, and you can type it into a NTFS stream of another file or folder and hide it there. I will show you an example at the end where we are using alternative data streams. So I have mapped out, I have a link at the bottom for all the different techniques I have found that you can execute streams, but also like inject streams into files and folders using different techniques. So it's I think it's pretty cool. Also, if you can stumble upon hidden PowerShell hosts, a lot of binaries have like uses the system automation DLL file. It use it as a part of the binary, and sometimes you can actually escape the parameters by adding like I don't know the English word for it, but like shift 2 and like escape from the PowerShell host and run your own PowerShell code within the binary. So that's also something that's really interesting if you can stumble upon those things. And also encoding and decoding stuff. Like I showed you with cert util, you can encode like base64 and decode it on the fly. That's interesting. And also, of course, if you find a way to like find credentials, that's golden. If you can find a hash or just clear text passwords or keystrokes or whatever. So if you want to help out, make sure to fill it up. So big shout out to Walter Legowski. He's like a paint shop pro dude. He's really awesome. He had a talk earlier this day. So he created this for me. It's really awesome. So a couple of more examples. So run DLL32. We all know what it does, right? It runs DLL files. So you call it run DLL, you point to a DLL file, and then you add like an entry point, DLL main or whatever. What you probably didn't know, or maybe you did know, I don't know, but you can also run code directly using this beautiful command. So I'll quickly just show that. I think I have it cached here. So yeah. So here I'm running run DLL32 and adding like a JavaScript at the bottom. Or I can move that to the center of the screen. So if I just run it, it will actually output Java code directly. So that's pretty awesome. There's a lot of these. So I have not discovered these. These are discoveries by others, but still I find them really cool. There's also some more with MSHDA. You can also run code directly. Let's see here. So here we have Ice Ice Baby. Yeah, you get the point. Awesome. Yeah, so and also other commands, like I don't know if you saw this earlier this year, SubT or Casey Smith discovered this cool command with WMIC, where you can use style sheets to actually execute code. Did you know that? Nobody know that. Wow. Okay. So what you could do, you can use WMIC, the binary file, add the process get brief, and there's also a lot of other verbs you can use. And then you add the slash format, and then you add a path to an external place where you store an XSL style sheet. And it will actually execute that code. So let me just pop a calc to prove my point. Let's see. Oh, sorry, I can't do that. I don't have internet. Oh, I forgot. My bad. But trust me, if you go to the web portal, you can go into VMIC, and there's an example there. You can basically just copy and paste it, and it will work out of the box. So yeah. Also, MS Build, you can use that one. This is one of my favorite binaries. It's basically a compiler and runtime environment without the need of Visual Studio. And it says right here, you can use project, build platform process, and build software. It does not depend on Visual Studio. And it's embedded in the operating system. So you can use this to like run code. For instance, you can use ms-build-exe to spawn a PowerShell without using PowerShell. You have something called pawn shell that is written in XML, so you can just, sorry, not XML, C#, thanks. And then you can just run this command, and it will compile and run it directly. And it's a really beautiful thing, and it can bypass a lot of application whitelisting solutions out there. Yeah, I have some more examples to show you. Here you have the extract 32 that you normally use for extraction, but you can also use this for copying as well, as I showed you earlier. Here's the cert-util command again. You could either use it to download a file, or you can use it to decode a file or encode it if you want. And another cool thing I found out when I was playing with binaries was that you can use print to copy files. Go figure. So this was pretty funny because I was on a roll with the different copy techniques, and all of a sudden I noticed that print has a lot of parameters, print.exe. So I started to play around with it, and I discovered that you can actually supply a /d to point where you want the output file, because a lot of printers output to files, right? And then you supply the input file, and it will copy the file. So I think that was a pretty cool discovery. So I don't know, does anybody here use BG-info in their environments? Yeah. Nobody wants to commit their crimes, no? Okay, so you can actually use this for code execution as well. And I've actually been on pen tests where I've found BG files. Those are the files that you use for BG info. It uses that as an input to say what's supposed to show up on the desktop in terms of what's the host name, what's the IP address, and all that sort of stuff. But you can also make it to run scripts. You can add custom fields, and you can add VB scripts. So once I found a writable BGI file that normal user had write access to, and I added code, a VB script, and added it to the BGI file, and it rained shells literally all day. It was a lot of fun. So there are a lot of hidden functionality around the different binaries for sure. I also here's an example of using alternate data streams. So in the first command here, I'm just typing the ha.exe into a stream. So I'm pointing it to a file called test.txt, and I'm adding a colon and then hda.exe. And now it's stored within the file in an other stream than the binary file itself. So it's kind of hidden, so you cannot see it, and the size of the file doesn't change. This is a functionality that is in the NTFS file system. And then you can afterwards use other binaries to execute that file if it supports it. And there's a lot of different binaries that supports execution of alternate data streams. So this one I actually discovered 2-3 days ago, that you can use app VLP to execute alternative data streams. Yeah. Any questions? Oh, we have a question. Yeah. So pipe in terms of adding data to alternate data streams, for instance? I haven't looked into that, no. I haven't. Sorry. But I sure will. Yeah. Oh. So if privilege escalation is... could you ask the question again? It's really hard to decide by myself, but it really depends. I think it's if you find password in sysvol and you can use find string to find the passwords using a simple command, I think like that's a valid LOLbin in my opinion. But when we have like these discussions, I discuss with the other project members, and we agree upon if it's a valid or invalid LOLbin. Yeah. So if there's not any more questions, I got a cool thing to show you, like a quick demo in the end. If that's okay? Yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll try to beef up the fonts here a bit. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, sorry. Oh, presentation mode. God damn it. Okay, you can see this. Right. Okay, so inside here, I have a binary file, auto runs, right? Nothing special. Just to prove my point, auto runs. Okay, so a cool thing, I don't know if everybody knows this, but if you rename the file, let's see, auto runs, I could call it, for instance, just .txt. Yeah? And what will happen now is that if I go into my temp directory in Explorer and open it, nothing will happen. It will open in Notepad, right? That's expected. But the funny thing is, if I do like this, it will actually execute the auto runs. That's pretty cool. Did you know this? No. That's all I had.